Hey guys, so multi-part video series here. We're talking about automation ideas for your scalping. Now, let's just be clear here. We're not talking about developing a robot that is going to scalp for you. That's a different thing. And if that's your thing, this isn't what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is still having that human feeling about supply, demand, the price action, all that kind of stuff, but using some form of automation to take some of the weight away from you, take some of the pressure away from you. If you think, what's the best analogy I can think of? Okay, think about a car production line, right? The cars come down and the person who's fitting the front seats has a kind of arm that takes the weight of the seat, but they can still move it, right? So it's got this big thing, the seat comes along, they come along, they put the seat on this arm and they kind of push it, and it's all purposely laid out so they can push it in and put it in its location, and then they kind of do the last adjustment by hand, push it in its location, drill in the bolts, the required torque, and then go down and do the next one, or maybe the other person does the other side, whatever. The point is, they are not lifting that seat over each time and trying to wiggle it into place. There's some kind of robot that's taking the strain for them, making their lives a lot easier. So number one is filtering markets. So if we're trying to a type of scalper that is looking to trade multiple markets, what we're going to do is we're going to have some kind of filtering process, some kind of scanner that spits out the markets that are doing the things that we want. So after earnings, an easy one is to just put stuff that's got earnings into a filter. FinViz will do this for you. Earnings coming up this week, very simple. You put it in the chart, I put it in the screener, comes back, bang, and you can screen then for volume as well, so you've only got the most liquid stuff. It also might be things like, okay, I only want to trade markets that are over a certain range, or there are some markets that I like to trade, but at the moment they're pretty rubbish. However, I want to be alerted to them if they start trading over a certain kind of a range in the day, or average true range. Very easy to do, very easy to set up. Sounds meaningless in a way, but all it's doing is meaning that you're not missing something, because mark my words, guys, and you've probably been here before, you say, oh, I'll keep my eye on that chart. That's a good chart. That could really start to kick off and be a good kind of one to start scalping. Next thing is you forget about it, you carry on scalping what you're doing, you look over at that chart and it's been stupidly active for the past quarter. You're like, I forgot about it, you know, and I knew it was going to do something because it's coming to a key level. There's a lot of news influence coming in. I should have had it. So, you know, automating some kind of filtering process that presents ideas to you. So that could be that. Another way of doing it is to present stuff that's perhaps moving like a stock intraday, because stocks are the ones that kind of come in and out of favor. So if something's really swinging around intraday, some sort of filtering, some sort of screener that says, hey, this thing's really shifting, it might be worth you looking at and scalping it. So that's number one. Number two is automatic alerts on levels. This one's an easy one to do and is super valuable, especially if you're trading a basket of stuff as well. Even if it's a small basket, you can say, well, that's a really key high. I want to be alerted at that key high. I want to be alerted at that key low. I want to be alerted when something does this, when something does that. Very simple to do. You can do it on TradingView, do it on your charting platform. You're just putting an alarm on your key level. Little tip is, when your key level you're interested in, just put the alarm a little bit lower or higher. If the market's coming up to it, put it a little bit lower. If the market's coming down to it, put it a little bit higher, so that you're there and you're ready, rather than scrambling and going, oh, the alert's on. You know, you want to be alert. Okay, it's coming to it. It might not quite get there, but at least then you're ready for it if it does, and you can do some business around that level. Number three, limits for small portions. What do I mean by limits for a small portion? What this means is, okay, let's say you already know that you want to fade a move through these lows. Let's say you're that type of trader who likes to fade stuff, who likes to fade those stops. You can start to put limit in for a very small portion of your order. So let's say you're doing 10 units, whatever that may be, £10 a point, 10 contracts, £100 a point, whatever. You could put a limit order in for one to get you in, and it almost makes a marker. It almost sounds stupid, right, when you talk about it. You think, well, it makes no sense. But very often we frame our trade, or frame the trade based around our first entry or our average price, which we could go down that rabbit hole and say that's not really the most efficient way of doing it, and it's not. We should look at everything objectively, but sometimes we've got to do what we do. And very often if we have that first trade, that first kind of marker in there, then we can trade around that and say, right, well, that's got me into the trade. It's not a massive amount, so if it goes against me, it's not going to kill you, but it gets you when you go, right, well, that's the level I want it to be in at. Now what do I want to do? Okay, I can add some more around that. I can scale some in, scale some out. So using that automated limit for something you know you definitely want to get involved in helps to draw your attention to it and helps to take some of the stress off getting in the initial part of the trade. Number 4 is scaling. An easy thing to do with, especially if you customize your order. Some brokers don't allow you to do this. I appreciate, but some brokers do. Let's say again, we use that 10 units as an example. If you've got a level, and again, let's use the example of you want to scale out into lows. Let's say you're short, right? And you say, okay, my strategy is to scale out into these lows as they flush. Beautiful strategy, by the way. Coming down, flushing into lows, you can have it so that automatically your orders are staggered, 10 ticks below that low at different intervals. So you're splitting up into 10, and that saves you going in, putting the order in, putting the order in, putting the order. You can have it on a hotkey, and it just says, right, put it there, and it just goes, brum, staggers the orders in. So when the market then comes round, cascades through the low, it fills. I mean, it's great if it fills all of them, and it's always a nice occasion when it fills all of them or it rebounds. But very often what happens is it will cascade through, fill those some of the orders, and then pop back up, and then you can kind of move those orders and come out. But you've got the meat there, and you've been taking on the side of those stops as your plan may be. So scaling out, using automation to have those scales in ready is super, super crucial. Okay, trade management as well. So this is similar, but you might say to yourself, right, well, I want to have a stop and a limit in put in automatically. And again, some brokers allow you to do this, some brokers don't, but you can do stuff like, okay, as soon as I've placed an order, put a stop loss in 6 ticks away from my entry, put a target for half of it 10 ticks away from my entry to the upside, and then leave it. So you can customize that, so especially for scalping, and you can often program it on hotkeys, and also you can buy a keyboard. Have I got it on this trading desk? I haven't, but you can buy like a separate keyboard where you can cut and paste your own individual keys that tell you what they do. For example, buy at market, sell at market, buy bid +1, a buy bid -1 if you want to kind of just go under the bid, add a bracket order in. So automating all this stuff so you can manage your trade. So automatically puts a bracket in on a trade. Like I say, you can't really do that on CFD. Brokers don't know any that allow you to do that, or spread betting brokers. But if you're trading direct in the market, then Ninja, TradeStation, all those others, most of the others allow you to do that. Set up hotkeys that automatically put in, interactive brokers as well, allow you to set up hotkeys that you can program to whatever you want to do. So like, okay, I want to put my order in, I want to put a stop here, I want to put my order in a limit here, I want to put my order in and stagger limits here or stagger stops there. But that's trade management. So that, very often, guys, with scalping, as you know, if you scalp, it's like you take the trade, often you can be out 10 seconds. So if your orders are going in, especially your targets, especially if you're like pushing through lows and they're going quickly, at least you're there. You're not like, oh, I missed it, just purely because you couldn't get your orders in time. So trade management. And number 6 is entry automation. So one thing you can do, which never really struck me as, I've never used this, I've dabbled with it, but it's never really worked for me, but I know it works well for others, is to force yourself into the trade and then manage the trade. So that's always not sat well for me, but actually, funnily enough, there was a guy, I think in Market Wizards or Hedge Fund Market Wizards, who did that, kind of pushed him into the trade, and then he would trade around it. So he knew a trade that he wanted, so he would be pushed into trade. And this is not just limits small portion, which is just getting in a small portion. This is getting yourself fully in the trade, getting the full clip in, and then saying, right, manage that trade. You wanted to be in it. It was at 10 ticks under low or 6 ticks under low or whatever it may be. Now you're in. Now what you're going to do? And that kind of stuff really, forces you into the trade. And if it works for you, then superb, right? If it doesn't work for you, then don't do it. But the important thing is we're leveraging on the power of automated decision making so that we don't have to have that cognitive load. If you find yourself struggling to pull the trigger and you know that you're going to pull the trigger around that level, then just get the trigger pulled for you. And as long as your risk is managed and you know what you're doing with it, then maybe that works for you, because it gets rid of your weakness, which is not being able to pull the trigger. So anyway, guys, those are some automation ideas. If you've got any others, in the comment section below. See you next one.